All right. Now it's better? Yeah, okay. So I'm going to talk about scope storage, and I think if you're all here, it's because you probably struggled with it, and sorry, I was part of that. I'm going to talk also about all the changes we're going to bring on Android 13, but also ModernStorage, which is a library I've been working for now nearly a year on how to improve scope storage and overall storage for developers on Android. So before I deep dive into all the APIs that we can use to interact with storage, I'm going to focus on trying to explain the concept of storage on Android, just because I think it may still be a complex thing that not everyone understands. And after that, we'll dive into storage APIs. And finally, I'm just going to highlight to you ModernStorage. Okay. So the first thing to know on Android regarding storage is you have the device storage, which can be like an SSD or like a flash memory. And this is where usually you have the internal storage. So again, some of those concepts may be obvious for some of you, but just we're going to look at them together to just get used to them. And on the internal storage, it's private to your application, and no application can access it. It's fully private. So within it, you will probably put configuration files, caches, anything that you don't want to be accessible by other apps, like databases, for example. And you have after that the external storage, where this is where normally you will put files both that can be accessed by the users on the shared storage, and I will explain a bit more of that in details after. But also there is the app external storage. For this one specifically, we created it historically just because we had devices with low memory. So remember HTC Desire or Nexus One? That was a really long time ago. So some of those devices didn't have a lot of memory on their main primary volume. So you would use a memory card for that. And this is where normally you will put all your media files and all the files that you want your app to access, but still you can't put them in your primary volume just because there wasn't a lot of space. So that's the main purpose of the app external storage. But nowadays, most devices, they have a much bigger internal storage. A primary volume, so you should just put your files directly there. And on the external storage, the app external storage, you have to know that before Android 11, any app with read or write external storage can access it. So don't ever put anything extremely private there, because they can just have a look and snoop and do whatever they want with that. And on the shared storage is anything that you want the user to be able to see in their gallery apps or their file manager. So overall, the external storage is what you see when you plug your phone on a computer. So when you use the MTP protocol, everything that shows up is within the external storage. The internal storage will never appear there. So you have to do some ADB pull or ADB-ls to be able to have a look inside. And everything within the shared storage is indexed by MediaStore. MediaStore is this kind of database that indexes all the files that makes it easier for you to be able to access them. So whenever you want to get all the images from a device, rather than you go through each folder and try to find all the images, you'll just use MediaStore to make it much faster for you. All right, so to sum up what we've seen so far, the internal storage is located on the primary volume. Its content is removed when your app is uninstalled. It's fully private, and you should always prefer it for performance reasons, because again, the primary volume being on the device, it may be again like a SSD, something like that, compared to a micro SD card where you may have some latencies. The second thing to keep in mind is anything on the on a removable storage like an SD card can mean that it's not available. So the user can just remove the SD card, put it on another device. So any files that are available there can't be accessed within your device while the memory card is being pulled. So I put as samples the path that you may see. It's not always the same path. Some OEMs put different paths. Depending on the version, it may have a different path. Here's just overall, just to give you a quick idea. The second thing I kind of forgot to mention is the external storage, the shared storage, can be accessed in all the volumes. So you don't have it only on the primary volume of the device. So you can have it on an SD card. If a device has 2 SD cards, you may have 3 external storages. So never assume you have just one external storage. It can be as possible as the device allows. So I kind of explain again some basic thing for some of you, but just to make sure that we're all on the same page. Now, regarding the history on storage, before it was kind of the Wild West, where with read external storage you can do whatever you want, and write external storage you can just write. It was the good time because, well, no one had to care about permissions. You just get it and you do whatever you want. And we thought it wasn't fun enough, so we added scope storage, which was great for users, because now with Android, from Android 10, no apps can access document files. So things like PDF or zip file, they can't access them by default. They have to use the storage access framework to do so. What it means is if you have any bank statement, if you have any, I don't know, secret invoice, apps by default can't access that. So they have to ask you to please choose the file and give us access to, rather than any apps can access everything, which was the case on Android before. So scope storage, what it means for developers, it means that you own your app data. No one else can access it. So anything on the external storage is not available for other apps. You can add files without permission. I think that's maybe one of the biggest thing I want to tell all of you is, if you're just adding files, you're not modifying other people's files, you're just adding them. So let's say you're a bank app, you're just downloading bank statements, you don't need any permission from Android 10. You can just add them, whether it's on the download folder, on the document folder, you don't need any permission. So if you keep requesting it and keep getting refusal, well, it's kind of your fault at this point. But overall, it's just for you to simplify. Don't request permission when you don't need, to have a better conversion rate. So users will not just say no every time. You will just have access to your own storage. And the other thing regarding privacy is any media file that has location metadata. So you know, when you take a picture, you may see the place where you took it. By default, you can't access that anymore. You need the access media location permission to be able to have a look at it. So overall, this is where we are with scope storage on Android 10. On 11, we improved that. We added the file path API, so you can still use the same java.io API like before, but it's privacy included, if I can say. You can request, edit multiple confirmation dialog at the same time. So before, when you try to modify a media file, you can only do one at once. Now we can bulk them together. And if you need access to the whole shared storage, we have this all file access permission that we introduced, but it's subject to a specific Google Play policy to be able to use it. So now I'm just looking at the time, and I'm already at 8 minutes, so I think I may have to go a bit faster because there are way more slides waiting. All right, so we did Android 10 and 11 with scope storage, and now what we're bringing with Android 13, we're bringing more transparency regarding storage usage and some privacy-centric APIs. What it means, some fun with permission again. So I know you had a hard time with read external storage, so we just thought, why not just killing it directly? So now, instead of using read external storage, which is, I mean, you can still request it, it's not gonna work, and you're not gonna have access to anything when you do it so. We have this new permission which is really focused by media types, so read media images, read media video, and read media audio. When you request the three of them together, you're still gonna see two permission dialog. You're not gonna see just one, but you're not also gonna see three, just because we think video and images are really close, and for users sometimes they don't make the difference. So when you're requesting them together, you're just gonna have one permission dialog. And if the device that's running Android 13 with your app already has access to read external storage, it won't have to, when you will request the permission, you will just get them granted automatically. So for migration, it's really kind of nice. And that's only when targeting Android 13, so I know you will take your time, but don't forget that you have 2 years maximum to be able to deal with that. All right, but one thing that we thought with the engineers and the rest of the team is, instead of every application making their own photo picker, which, to be honest, a lot of time kind of sucks, why not we provide directly a good API for you? So that's what we're doing with Android 13. We're bringing this photo picker where now with just a simple intent, you will have this kind of smooth gallery type where you can just select any type of image and video. I know we have the storage access framework, but in comparison, it's kind of good looking. SIF is not that great. We have to be honest there. And the other cool thing is we're going to bring it in Android 13, but we also will backport it with Android 11 and 12 with a Google Play system update. That's the project mainline, if you have heard of. The other element that I wanted to mention is we're going to have cloud providers directly included. So if you have Google Photos, for example, on a device, all the media files will be in the same view. So it's not like go on another tab or go in the menu. You will just have all the images directly available. And after that, the user can just select them and grant access to them for you. And for you, it's kind of transparent. No permission. You can trigger this photo picker whenever you want. And it's just much easier. Why maintain a whole photo picker when you can get one for free? So that's the photo picker we're bringing in Android 13. All right, now let's deep dive more into storage API. So now so far I showed you where we are in terms of storage, where we're going. And now let's dive more into code, proper code. So let's say you have a config file that you want to save in your internal storage. Remember what I showed earlier, something super private just for your app. Normally you will just use context.filesdir, and this is where normally you will drop all the files. To give you a quick idea, this is where also Glide put all the thumbnail caches. And if, in case you don't want that folder or that file to be backed up, because by default, you know, some devices have this backup automatically running, just use the no backup files there, and you will be sure that that file will never be saved somewhere else. And finally, we just write the content to it. So something I want to highlight here is, you notice that we use a buffered writer. So whenever you write some string content, rather than just putting like the whole byte array directly onto the file and overusing memory and CPU cycle, just use this interface. It will be much better for the performance of your app. And the second thing also is to use the .use extension method. That's just to simplify closing the stream for you. So all of that is done, and when you're really careful about memory crash because you may have been using too much or you may have too many file descriptor being open, this is a really neat way to write that, and everything will be done automatically for you. All right, now let's imagine you have a much bigger file and it may not fit your internal storage because you're on a Android Go device or on a really old Android device where the primary volume is super small and everything is on the SD card. So by default, you should always, again, try to get the files there to be able to keep everything private, but it may just not have enough available space. In that case, you will try to just have one of the external files directory, and again, you just try to check if you have enough space. If not, you mention to the user, sorry, there's not enough space. Try to clean some of that. There is an intent for you to clear some cache. I didn't want to dive too much into that, but there is a way for you to help the user clearing some caches. Now, into MediaStore. So I mentioned earlier that MediaStore is a database where you can kind of, everything is indexed, all the shared files are indexed there automatically, and it's super handy, like whenever you're trying to make your own app, trying to index all of those files, if you try to do that by yourself by going into each subdirectory, you will use way too much CPU, way too much battery, and you will always have to keep that up to date. MediaStore does that automatically by the system for all applications. So let's have a look at how how it looks like for application to be able to make a query. Let's imagine we just have a media file class where you just have the URI, the path, file name, size, etc. We have to use the content resolver to be able to interact with MediaStore because it's a content provider. So here, what we have to do is we say, I want this type of information, I want to filter in that way, and I want to sort in that way. This is how you use content resolver. You may have used it with a contact resolver, with a calendar provider. So it's a common API. It's just, I wanted to quickly highlight that for you. So now for the query arguments, in this case, what we want is we want all the files, all the media files, which are images or video. And in the case here that I'm showing below, generation added, it's from Android R. Instead of relying on when a date was added, so you know every file on the system has when it has been created, when it has been modified, but you can actually kind of cheat those information. You can actually change them. From Android R, we've added this generation added file attribute where you can't fake that. So that's maintained by the system rather than we look at the file. And in this way, if you really want to make sure that you get all the oldest files first or all the newest files, you can just rely on that. After that, we execute our query. And finally, we're getting all the cursor iteration. Again, because of the time, I'm just going to skip a bit over that. But finally, you're getting your media file. You will just be able to present that in your own view and being able to get some thumbnails of it with Glide. So Glide, if you just give the URI, it will be able to get all the thumbnails for you. You don't have to do anything. It's super handy. So that's how you query MediaStore. Again, sorry, I'm going a bit faster because time is running out. Now onto Storage Access Framework. So earlier I mentioned that if you want to access any document file from Android 10 and above, it's the only way to interact with. But it's not that new. It has been added since KitKat, which was already a long time ago now. But this one is just a file picker. So if you want to be able to pick a file based on a MIME type or a list of MIME types, don't try to do it by yourself. Just use this API. It's super simple. And code-wise, it's just this activity result contract. So you just register. You just say, I want a document. You specify the MIME type. And after that, the whole thing is handled for you. So in less than 20 lines of code, you have a file picker, no brainer. Now into the photo picker usage. So I showed you earlier how the photo picker looked like. We're going to bring, I think, next week or in 2 weeks, this activity result contract that I wrote personally, I'm quite proud of. Similarly, it's just going to launch the photo picker when it's available. Otherwise, it will use the storage access framework. And you have a photo picker in less than, 4 lines of code. So again, if you want to simplify yourself and don't want to maintain all of that code because God knows how such a mess it is, just use that, simplify yourself. And similarly, if you try to get a specific MIME type, let's say you have a div button, you will just be able to provide those parameters in this way. And if you want to get multiple type of MIME types, you just do it this way. All right, I'm just running now. Finally, ModernStorage. Wow. It was kind of a cheat because I'd say that I was going to talk about it, but I just felt like scope storage is such a mess. I should talk about it first. Now, ModernStorage is a project that I've been working on it for quite a long time. And the whole goal of it is to have a support library, thanks finally, on storage that handles everything from API 21 plus, so it's Lollipop. I'm trying 19, but I'm struggling a bit, well, you know why. And the whole set of it is to have different modules in it to just simplify storage interaction, whether it's permission or just input-output with the file data store. And the file interaction part, which is a bit interesting, is using underneath OKIO. So if you have used HTTP, what was the name? Retrofit? Yeah, Retrofit way. Retrofit is just a Square API that makes HTTP interaction much easier. Underneath, it's using OKIO for all of these I/O interactions. And if you haven't used it, have a look. It's amazing. It's really, really simple, really smoother, rather than what we have currently on Android. And now, let's have a look, for example, at the storage permissions. With the one that I've shown, you need this type of table to be able to understand all storage permission, which is it's not that great. It's actually a nightmare. So here instead, with ModernStorage, you have this method named hasAccess where you can set the type of action you want to do, whether it's read or write, and a list of file tabs, and it will be able to tell you if you have access to it or not. And again, in Android 10, for example, for your own files where you don't need any permission, it will just return true by default. So you don't have to request any permissions. If you look at it in the same way when you want to request permission, don't think too much about like, oh, request this one or this one. We just handle everything for you in the same way. Now, on getting file metadata, this is what I kind of pulled to get between Storage Access Framework, between MediaStore and Java I/O. It's about 160 lines of code. Same thing here, it's horrible. With ModernStorage, just one line, and you're getting all the metadata that you want. Whether it's the file name, whether it's the MIME type, the size, again, really easy, really simple. Isn't that beautiful? And finally, last thing, and after that I stop, Marion, I swear. If you want to copy an image, let's say you have an image in MediaStore and you want to copy that to your internal storage to do some interaction with it. Same thing there, normally you have to open input stream, you have to close you have to close it, open the output stream, close it, etc. Here, the same thing. The whole goal is to make it as simple as possible for you. So let's say you got that URI from MediaStore. You just have to get the target. In this case, it can be a file, it can be a URI. I handle both. And in the end, you just have this nice, smooth .copy method where you just specify an origin and a target and everything is done. Boom, it's amazing. All right, so now, how can I grab this amazing library? Just go there. And no, it's still in alpha. I'm still the main developer, but please, 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 give me your feedback because the only way to make it progress and to actually it is to make sure that it covers most of the use cases, if it's not all of them. So please, if you have any feature requests, if you have any question or any issues, just have a look, have a play. I will be the one answering, so you have direct personal support, which is amazing. And it's free on top of that. All right. Any questions? Oh, we have no question time? Shit. All right. I will be available for office hours. Thank you, everyone.